Up next, we have Eric McCullough back. He is the guitarist of Baltimore band Kingstarn, and Eric has been with us previously at other projects, but we're excited to bring you Kingstarn this evening. Eric, welcome to the show.
Excellent. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
So, hey, like I mentioned, we've had you on the show with other projects before. Folks will know that, but introduce us to Kingstarn. Who is the band, and how did you guys get together?
Oh, that is a great question. Well, back in the early part of last year, in 2018, as some of you know, We Love the Underground went on hiatus, and at that point I was kind of thinking, what am I going to get my hands into next? And initially, I wanted to do a studio project where a different vocalist would come in on each song. The first person I went to ask to write on a song was Brian Wade, who I initially knew from Blind Rhetoric, and was also a fan, and am also a fan of his group Vest Ascension. And I loved what he came up with on our new single Revolution so much that I asked him if he'd be willing to work on additional tunes, and I was glad to hear that he said yes, and hopefully we'll have some more music coming out before too long.
So, talk a little bit stylistically about what Revolution and what this band's going to sound like for folks that haven't heard it yet. It's a bit more melodic than some of the previous projects folks might know you from.
It is, and I know I record with Tony Corelli at Deep End Studio, and I know he was a little surprised when I brought that song in. He was expecting it to be a little bit more hard rock, metal, a little bit heavier, and I don't know. I've just been on this kick where it's been more of a melodic alternative vibe, writing some songs that are actually in major keys, which feels a little bit strange for me, but there's still a bit of a minor tinge to it, adding some dissonances in there, and this is definitely one of those more melodic tunes that I have been working on, and there are a few coming up that aren't completely off the wall and still go with Revolution, but they are a little bit darker, a little bit heavier, but still emphasizing, kind of melody as being king.
Hey man, yeah, and I absolutely love the melodic rock vibe of the tune. So yeah, and it's folks are gonna love what they hear coming from it. So
thank you.
So
thank you very much.
Tell us lyrically a little bit what the song's about.
That's a fantastic question. I would have to check with Brian to get the background on that. I have not asked him specifically what the tune is about, but I know that his imagery has always resonated with me in the past writing he's done for other bands, and when I first heard it, I was just so blown away, not only by his vocal melody, but just touched by his lyrics, and I think they're specific while still leaving it open enough for the listener to kind of get their own interpretation of the lyrics as well. So it's very, very universal, but I love his imagery and lyrical writing.
So, hey man, it was just, I guess, a couple days ago, January 1st, the music video for Revolution came out. So tell us a little bit about the making of that video.
Oh, we absolutely had a blast. Actually, back in We Love the Underground, I had an idea that we never pursued of having a solo dancer featured in a music video and kind of panning between band shots and also the solo dancer, and it just didn't happen to work out with our timeline, and then with the group going on hiatus, so I was working on the song Revolution and thought that, hey, this would be a great opportunity to make that happen. And I am the director of music at Carroll Community College, and I remember probably a year or two ago, the school had put on a production of Rock of Ages, and I hadn't met her before, but I saw a dancer, Carly Roscoe. She performed in the show and also did a lot of the choreography for the show, and that was the first time when I really actually even got the idea, because I was thinking, hey, often you think of dance as being not necessarily separate from the rock realm, but dance and choreography is definitely not featured as much in rock videos as it is, say pop videos. But I saw how well it worked in that production of Rock of Ages, seeing a lot of rock tunes paired up with dancing. So I thought that would be a cool, different and unique thing to pursue. And when I first met up with Carly, we were just instantly on the same page with the vibe and the aesthetic we were going for with the video, and she absolutely nailed it in that video. I couldn't be more pleased, and Matt did an excellent job with filming it.
So, along with the tune, you sent a brief little instrumental interlude you guys composed. What spawned the creation of that kind of little instrumental tune you sent along?
That is a good question. I had been playing with pieces of that tune for a while. The main body of that instrumental track, which is called Erised, a slight Harry Potter reference there. Actually, I'm a big geek. The main body of that was it actually used to be the verse for Revolution, and Brian was like, man, I like this, but I'm just having trouble, writing something I like over it. So he sent over an idea. We collaborated, and I still wanted that piece that used to be in the song to be kind of attached to it. And wrote some other pieces to it, added an intro to it on nylon string classical guitar, and now that is attached before the song as kind of a prelude, and we used part of it for that teaser as well. So it worked out on a number of different levels as well.
So you mentioned our good friend Tony Corelli worked with you on this one. I saw the pictures from Deep End. Tony's an amazing guy, been a guest on the show. Tell us a little bit about what he brought to the production of this new song.
Oh, absolutely. Well, I feel like I rely on Tony so much. I think that I have a pretty decent ear, but I feel like that doesn't even compare to his ear. He'll be able to hear any of the slightest tuning issues or maybe harmony issues, and he'll propose changes potentially to a melody. Hey, why don't you try this? See how it goes. And I feel like 99.9% of the time that change is adopted and just makes the song that much better. Really happy with all of the work that he's done for me, but particularly with this tune. And he did play the string parts on keys on that Erised prelude tune that goes before Revolution. And I'm always amazed by his ability to essentially compose and record on the spot to songs that he is just hearing potentially for the first time. So incredible musician, engineer, and producer. And although I did not work with him personally, Drew Mazurek was also involved and did a great job capturing and engineering the vocals with Brian as well.
So what does the writing look like for this band? Are you one of those bands that goes into a room together and writes, or are you one of those, like, what I see more and more of now is file sharing writing, bands like writing from other places? How do you guys do this?
Yeah, that's definitely becoming more common, and for us it's really been forced to be the latter type of composition and writing. Brian Wade, our vocalist, he lives in New York City, so geographically that's what we have had to be doing, and it worked out perfectly for Revolution. And it was a really cool moment because I actually hadn't heard any of what he had come up with until he had sent the tracks back to Tony from Drew's studio. So I was hearing it at the same moment as Tony was, and I just had this stupid smile on my face because it was just so awesome. But there's a lot of trust there. I know that what Brian is going to come up with is going to be awesome. So I had no worries on that front. But yeah, a lot of file sharing. I think that we're definitely open if we are all in state at any moment to try to get together and work on some of the new ideas and new tunes. And I do have at least skeletons musically for at least an EP. What it'll come down to is just likely timing for how soon we can get all the pieces together, write and record all that.
So next thing people are going to want to know is what are the prospects for seeing a live show with him being in New York? I know that's tough. Can we expect to see a live show from you guys any point soon?
And I think that's definitely a possibility. And I, kind of not playing a legit, Baltimore club show in over a year now. I'm really getting the itch to get back out there. I love recording. There's something very special about that, but nothing can compare to being on stage. And I do greatly miss doing that. And I think that's something that is definitely a possibility. I think, necessarily we really need to have that material in place before we can do it. But I feel like as soon as we've got enough for a set, Brian does come down to Maryland 2 or 3 times a year. So I think that's something that could very realistically happen, even though it's currently more of a studio project. I think that prospect is very likely.
Yeah, and there's sometimes advantages to having bands in multiple cities because you can do a New York show, a Baltimore show, and I've seen that work out to advantageous for bands in some cases.
That is a very good point. Yeah, I would love to go up to New York and play a show. Get a lot of overlap between the different crowds and folks that we know down here and folks that he's come to know up in New York as well.
So I only ask this question 2 shows a year, and are you a New Year's resolution kind of guy? Do you have a resolution for the new year? Or
that's a fantastic question. I think in relation to this project, my resolution would be to at least get at least one more song done in 2019, and I loved being able to premiere a new song and a video at the same time. And I would love, minimum goal would be to do another song, for me personally, another song and video this year. And it's something interesting to think about. I think that more and more listeners are gravitating towards singles. And a lot of bands I see, and of course pop artists as well, just releasing singles. And if there is a longer record, it's an EP. I'm seeing less full lengths.
That is definitely the current trend. Yeah.
I love full lengths. Don't get me wrong. But for this project, I think it could work very well potentially to do singles. And if we can pull it off, a video for each one, really make the most out of each tune.
That definitely is the current trend in the musical industry, man. So no doubt about that. Hey, we've got Eric McCullough with us. He is a guitarist of Kingstarn. They're from Baltimore. We're featuring tonight their debut single, Revolution. And Eric, we're going to keep an eye as those new tunes come out, man. We'd like to get you back on the show.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you guys so much for having me on.
All right, man. Happy New Year to you, and thanks again for being here.
Happy New Year. Thanks so much, guys.